There's been a tube station here since 1900.
There's now the Jubilee line and the Northern line and an epic amount of history.
The only tube station to have the word London in its title, it is London Bridge Station.
Hi everybody, welcome to Series 4, episode number 3 of the Hidden London Hangouts. First of all, we're overwhelmed by the number of you watching these things. We are so humbled by this. We never imagined the numbers would shoot up as quickly as they have for these episodes. So thanks for coming on this journey with us. And today we're not going to disappoint you. We're going to London Bridge, and it's a station that's so big. There's such a story to tell. We're going to do this in 2 parts. So today, this is all about the Northern Line and the history of the Northern Line at London Bridge. Now, I don't do this on my own. We're missing Siddy this week. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I do have 2 of my lovely chums with me to guide us through this incredible station and the tour that we went on yesterday. First of all, Chris Nix from the London Transport Museum. What a day we had yesterday.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, it was fantastic, wasn't it? I've just about got the dust out of my hair, though. I mean, this was properly back to, tunnel grubbing, as we like to do. So, yeah, a good episode for early season 4.
Absolutely fantastic. You are going to love this episode. Laura, this was a trip round a station, and the closed off bits, it was off the scale, wasn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like it was an epic site visit. Anything that starts as a possible 2 hours and then doubles in length because you've got so much content and so many areas to go to. It was pretty phenomenal.
It really was. And of course, the one person who's missing from all of this is our gorgeous Siddy. Where are you?
Hey guys, I'm so sorry I'm not there this week, but I am a little bit busy at the moment. So jealous you got to go to London Bridge. I've never been there and I absolutely would love to see what's there. So I can't wait to watch the episode, but I'm thinking you might have to take me there when I'm back in London. But I am back next week. Until then, I will be very busy bathing in the Ionian Sea. Ooh, I think that's my cocktail.
Oh, that makes me so jealous of beach holidays, Chris. We just want to be on beaches, don't we?
We do. It's time to go away and get some proper sun, I think. Yeah, could definitely subscribe to that.
Good idea. But listen, we're at London Bridge today. It's a station that's so big. If you thought you knew it, you just don't, okay? Because we haven't got a clue what we were seeing, and it was just all there for us. It blew our minds, and it's going to blow yours too. So first of all, Chris, give us a history lesson. Take us back to 1890 when the City and South London Railway, the bank branch of the Northern Line, was born.
Yeah, so the City and South London Railway opened the world's first deep tube railway, and it ran from Stockwell to King William Street originally, opened in 1890. And the northern stretch of it, that bit between Borough and King William Street, didn't last very long. As we talked about on the King William Street episode in season 2, it wasn't a successful station. It was too steep, it was on a curve. And in only 10 years, that section shut and the line was diverted north of Borough to go through London Bridge and onwards to Bank. And that is where we get our first station at London Bridge, belonging to the City and South London Railway. It opened on the 25th of February 1900. It was a lift station originally, and it survived as a lift station for quite a long time. It wasn't until 1967 that the station was remodeled with escalators and a new ticket hall, and it got a modernisation again in the 90s ahead of the Jubilee line extension coming through and that whole station being reorganised. Now, of course, we're going to save the Jubilee line bit for another day. It's something which I know very well because I've started my career at the museum doing tours on the Jubilee line extension, and I know that bit very well. I didn't know the Northern line as well as we did by the time we'd finished yesterday.
We've got some amazing photographs as well that go right the way back to 1900, actually, so we want to show you those. And they actually just set the scene as to where we're going to be in that whole area right now, because it's a massive station and we're going to be talking about one chunk of it today. So first of all, Chris, this was the original entrance, wasn't it? And Laura, look, Bovril, it's up there. It's up there.
I know, look at that. It's a huge one as well for all our Bovril fans out there. I really like this image. It's really cool.
And Chris, whereabouts is this?
So this, if you know the London Bridge area, this was down towards the Borough High Street, away from the station, and it was quite a a small building. So even when it was still around, when I first knew it, it was you could miss it very easily.
Do you know, it's interesting. It's up in the top corner, because I must admit, on my screen it's a bit small. Are they semaphore signals up on the railway, up on the left-hand side at the bottom?
Oh, yes, they are. Yeah.
Right. So I know exactly where that is, because that is the little ramp that comes down from London Bridge. And that is the railway line that runs effectively to Charing Cross and Waterloo East.
Yeah,
that's
that's
coming
right.
through. So that makes total sense now. So that's where that building was. And that was originally your ticket hall to go in the lifts down to the Northern Line platforms as they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, what else we got then? This is cool.
So we have a lovely shot showing the inside of the station, the ticket hall.
That is, oh, blimey, look at that. It looks quite bleak, doesn't it, Law?
Yeah, I was just seeing if I could, there's a poster on the kind of far left-hand side, but I can't make out the copy on it, but it looks like some kind of lovely ornate border and some trees.
It's cute. And look at the first and last trains: Morden, Tooting, Highgate, Golders Green, and Edgware. Because I suppose
Laura, you've missed your moment to do the
Tooting. Interesting as well, because I suppose, Chris, the Northern Line at that point would only have gone as far as Highgate, which was Archway.
Mm.
So that would have been on the High Barnet branch. That would have been where the trains didn't go any further on the Northern Line than Highgate. Fascinating stuff, isn't it? Get your weekly season ticket today. Oh my goodness! And the woodwork and
I was just thinking that as well, Alex. Yeah, the woodwork, the panelling is really really unusual.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
Of course, if we just drift over here a little bit, you can see that white tiling that, again, we've talked about being synonymous with the City and South London Railway, and the borders. And you see the border tiles as well. You've got that thin and then the thicker band of black tiling there.
It's fascinating. So that's our first set of photographs. We then went on a bit of an explore, and we had the help of a truly lovely human being who works at London Bridge Station called Chris. And first of all, he took us into the area where the original spiral staircase down to the City and South London Railway platforms. Okay, it's still there, and he took us there. What I love about where you're taking us is this is the real original bit of the station, isn't it? Like 1890.
Yeah.
And then as we turn around this corner, as I say, the staircase is cool. What I really love about this station is there's so much secret stuff. What is it like, as the man who has to go and tour this station, to be in those dark, dirty bits on your own? It must be quite scary.
Well, on nights, or when we do planned general inspections, which happens once a month.
Yeah, all of it. What's
the whole
it like?
station, you have to check all areas, make sure there's no leaks, there's no cranks and movement, etc. If you're walking down the City and South tunnels, sometimes your footsteps echo. And yeah, even though you know you're alone, you know you're safe, ghouls and ghosts and ghouls come to mind. So it can be kind of like a very emotional, not emotional, but you get a bit worried. You're walking along, you hear your footsteps, you hear your breathing because it's so quiet down there. So when you actually hear a train shoot past, it's actually relieving because you realise you're not alone.
We're both men in our 40s. Have you ever given out a bit of a girly scream at a quiet point if something scared you down here?
I wouldn't say necessarily I've given out a scream, but the heebie-jeebers, the fears that has come up. I'm walking down, I hear footsteps, you can actually hear your heartbeat because it's so quiet down there sometimes. And it kind of raises your senses. So yeah, that kind of, when you're a child, edge of the bed thing comes back to you.
Because there was that bit, wasn't there, where you took us into the tunnel and you went, that one goes all the way down to Borough, and all you could see was what looked like cat's eyes at the end of the corridor. That was really scary.
Imagine my first time alone seeing that.
Awful.
Yes. And I thought, what's that? Because the last thing I expected to see was actual cat's eyes in the tunnel that was from the 1890s. So that was, that was a life-affirming moment for me.
Now, the first time you came here with us, you looked over that edge there and you went, oh, maybe we won't go down there. Walk with me for a minute. Tell me what it is about this staircase that gives you the willies.
It's just, like, the Jubilee line is new, it's fresh, it's pretty. And then when I first came down here 20 years ago, I just felt exposed. It's old, cranky, dirty, and I guess kind of alone. Again, kind of like I said earlier on, I'm walking down the old city in South. You're alone, it's dark and it's dingy. And so you just become more aware of your surroundings. You're heightened.
You're alone
Yes.
down here. You're alone.
You're on your own.
Thank you so much for letting us have a look around.
You're welcome. And it's nice to have met you and your team, and it's really nice to see this going on.
So nice to meet the people who watch this show. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I'm really interested in finding out a bit more about what survives here. This kind of blue colour on the wall is often a sign of something Second World War-ish, that and cream colours. So this is promising. Now, Chris, could you take us through this door and show us what survives through there?
Okay, yep. Have a look. This is an old area. I'll step in.
Yep, do. Coming in low.
Very narrow doorway.
It's the
Noted.
tiniest. Good
Mine
job
just
of
stepped on
Sideways.
everyone.
too many pies, isn't it? No. Check it.
I mean,
What this is.
anywhere where there's tiles, you know I'm going to get excited.
It's and they're not just any tiles, it's glass tiles. Signature of City and South London Railway.
Amazing.
And it goes a bit further, shall we?
It goes down
It's
here.
a bit, the floors, crikey. Well, appropriately enough, those look like the remains of gentlemen's toilet urinals.
Oh, lovely.
Bit of whiteware to go with the white tiles.
Love a sneaky peek behind a closed door, guys. Thank you.
And look, once again, you find that black, the bitumen that's used to key these tiles into the wall, just like we saw at Euston.
Still stuck so well as well.
I know, you see how sort of crazed and smashed they are and still they're
Yeah.
hanging onto the wall. Love it. Well,
Right.
that's a genuine surviving bit of CSLR for you.
I'm hoping Alex, the cameraman for the moment, can reverse out of here unharmed.
If you see a very quick shot of the ceiling, you'll also just tripped on my way out of here. Do you know the thing about this place is though, this particular bit of the station has been here since 1900. I think this is incredible.
It has, and Alex, do you know what kind of vibes I'm getting at the moment? The spiral staircase at Clapham South. It's really taking me back there, so I reckon we should have a little quick wander down.
And interestingly, Chris said, as we walk down, you'll see that there's loads and loads of these tunnel rings, these metal tunnel rings.
Yes.
And apparently it was a signature of the City and South London Railway, like the bank branch of the Northern Line. They did nothing with this. They never plastered it, they never painted it, they never did anything. I think it's utterly fascinating.
Yep, kept it super raw.
Do you know, there's something really quite fabulous about the tile work, or at least what's left of it, and how long it would have been here if it had remained. Because this is all
Absolutely.
1900 stuff, isn't it? And do you remember when we were talking about the friezes and stuff? I
Yes.
think these would have been black,
Yep.
wouldn't they? And these tiles, which we've seen elsewhere in the station, would have been made of glass.
Yeah,
white
you're
glass.
right. The thinner kind of band across the middle would have been black. And it's so lovely to see this in situ, isn't it? How amazing.
And weirdly, do you remember when we did Euston Station and we saw all of those glass tiles which were put here to reflect light because it was so dimly lit, so they put white glass tiles up on the wall and they glued them to the wall with black bitumen, do you remember?
Yes.
It's all upstairs, it's still all here, and I think it's incredible. And look at even when you look at the neatness of the tile work, it really is quite impressive stuff, isn't it? For 1900.
I am feeding off this energy, Alex. I love it. It's great. It's so cool.
And the final bit of this find is down there on that door there
Right.
is the Northern Line as it is now.
No
So
way.
you go through that door and effectively you're in a passageway to the Northern Line.
That was me and my sense of direction. Totally off kilter. You're going to have to show me the next bit, boys, because I've got no idea where we are.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And miraculously, we're the other side of that door. Nixie's here.
Yeah.
This is original bit of 1900 tube station in London Bridge, hiding in plain sight.
That's right, and if you know where to look for it, if you're walking through either of the corridors to the Northern Line, all you've got to do is keep an eye out for these cross passages. There are a couple of them. This is the one that's got the emergency stairs. Just that way is where the lift shaft would have been. And of course you've got your classic one corridor to go down into the station, one to come out.
Interesting. And I've always thought about those weird ramps, presumably they're original, and also these poster sites.
It does look like it, doesn't it? You can imagine sort of coming down and being confronted by the big posters there. It's nice to see that kind of thing surviving through a remodel, isn't it?
What I love is that this stuff is hiding in plain sight. Where we're about to go next is well behind locked doors, and this is the bit that got me excited, and probably you, because of the tiles.
I'm very excited as well because this is a really common interchange for me from coming in on my train and then jumping onto the Jubilee or Northern Line. So I walk this corridor so often, and I found out stuff today that I've not seen before. So
great, isn't it?
It's really cool.
It's the joy of hidden London.
I've got the key, so we should go and do the next bit.
Let's do it. So what's really lovely about all of that stuff you've just seen is that it's all still there, and it all dates back to goodness knows when. And Chris, if we look back at the ticket hall as it was originally, we actually see those black banded tiles, don't we? Just like that are still on that, well, effectively still where they should have been on that staircase when Laura and I were looking.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to see it as it was here, and then just see that evidence that's still there on the walls of the station today.
It's so cool. So you go into the station, the ticket hall, as you did, you'd go down the lifts and the stairs, and you'd end up on that slanty passageway down to the Northern Line as it exists now. That's where it drops out, isn't it, Laura? And it's really interesting to see how old and new still exists. Some of the old features have been left there, but then all that amazing metalwork, which has now sort of shrouded the new corridors, has just kind of made it all look so modern, even though it's old tunnels.
Yeah, it was a really good site visit for old and new, kind of living next to each other or in the same space, wasn't it? I completely agree with you. And I do use London Bridge a lot. It is my kind of my main station that I go to go into work or to a lot of our sites. So it was really, I mean, it's a big station, guys, isn't it? It's huge as it is in the operational part. And I think I was really overwhelmed, and I didn't realise that kind of the more abandoned and non-operational parts were as big and as huge as they were. So we were really lucky to get into those spaces. And I think, yeah, you're right. Old and new, that's a really nice way of looking at it, actually, because they are just kind of now in plain sight. But obviously that's a corridor I've walked down so many times. And not noticed those kind of little cut through sections. Yeah,
totally. And so as it stands at the moment, we're trying to sort of guide you through this station as we go. Now you go down escalators, and to the Northern Line there's a little slanty passageway, and then you turn right, and there's steps down to the 2 platforms. So these bits that we're talking about, those doors are the cross passages between the slanty tunnels. Okay, so that's where we are in the station. And Chris, we can have a look at more pictures of how that station then evolved over time, can't we?
Yeah, so I mentioned that in 1967 it got a remodel for escalators, and there you go. It's quite a big remodel, isn't it? That's one of the escalator shafts being built, and the surrounding ticket hall being built.
Yeah,
where you can just see that worker down on the floor.
This is fascinating, because this must be, there's the railway station, okay, over the top of that picture. This now is that flat bit near the Shard, isn't it? That escalator shaft is off that. This is incredible. So you've got like platforms 15, 16 and 17 are kind of behind the photograph on the main line. And that is, we're looking down the escalator shaft into what the station was going to be. And that was 60s, Chris, you say?
That's right, 60s. The remodel station opened in 67, so this is 60s when this is happening.
It's incredible, isn't it? And
it's an incredible job when you think about where that shaft is plunging into the ground. You can see it's heading straight underneath the building. It's a monumental task to do this.
And that original building, I mean, thinking of the geography of all of this, that original entrance that we saw, and I know you've got the name of it, I always forget the name of the castle something.
Three Castles House as
well. Three Castles House is literally over there on the top left, over there, would have been over there, because that is why the escalators are going down towards it, because you can't move the platforms, so you have to move the building when you put escalators in. This absolutely blows my mind. As I say, what you're seeing at the moment, well, you haven't even seen the best of what we're going to show you next, because then the ticket hall was evolving, wasn't it, Chris? We got a shot of that. I
So
mean,
there you go. This is when it opened, and you can see it's quite a sterile looking environment, isn't it? If you remember back to season 3, we talked about Notting Hill Gate and the remodeling there, and that has a similar vibe because it's that kind of era.
now, Laura, you can normally redeem these places because they don't look nice to me, but you can normally find something good about them.
Well, no, I was just thinking that it is very kind of stark, isn't it? I think sterile is probably a really good word for it. It's kind of quite clinical, and the light looks quite harsh in it as well. But I do like the floor. I love the kind of checker tiles. So that's about it, though, unfortunately.
I just love her. She always finds something good to talk about. I love that. But at least the tiles are quite nice. But of course, then, Chris, the evolution of London Bridge Station. Then we jump to the 90s, where big changes took place because the Northern Line platform going south moved, and that is the bit that blows everybody's mind. So there is a chunk that the concourse between the north and the southbound Northern Line platforms is new, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And once you know that, you can read the space quite easily if you go there and have a look at it. It was unusual anyway in that it had what they call right-hand running. So the north and the southbound tunnels were crossed over from the normal way of having them. But in order to increase the capacity, they used the original southbound tunnel as a central concourse and built a new southbound tunnel to run around it to give it more space. So that's why you end up with the things that we're going to go and have a look at now, these delicious bits of abandoned tunnel.
Okay, so we're in the Northern Line passageway here. The northbound platform is there, the southbound platform is over there, and we suddenly realised, Chris, that this was the original wall of the southbound platform. The southbound has moved that way, hasn't it?
That's right. So we're stood where the original southbound platform was, and it's now become this central concourse to allow more passenger flow. And that was something that was done in advance of the Jubilee line extension coming through to give greater capacity to this part of the station. It was an unusual arrangement here because you used to have what's known as right-hand running. So the southbound platform was on this side, northbound on that side.
I think it's fascinating. And Laura, this is where the tile stuff gets interesting, because if you don't take my word for it that this was the platform wall, through this door, we're going to see it actually there because they left some for you to see.
Absolutely. So I think it's about time we take you through that door.
Perfect.
Let's
Do
go.
it. This is all right, isn't it?
Alex, Chris.
This is the bit that I was trying to explain earlier. When we were out in the corridor, and I said to you that was the old lining of the platform. This is it. Okay.
I can't describe the excitement about the colour of these tiles. Do you hear me? Oh, they're just beautiful.
And they're all over the Northern Line, really, because they were done at the same time. It will even go up as far as Camden Town, this colour scheme of black and green and grey and white. And Chris, on camera, can explain this as well. What do you think these are made of?
Do you know what? I would go with it's a glass tile or a brick, but I know that you're going to tell me something else.
It's even better than that.
It's kind of a ceramic. It's enamel on the front, and if we just use something magnetic, you see it's sticking.
Yes.
And these are really unusual. You can see the rust.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you know what? As I said it, I thought that was a silly thing to say.
But it's really hard to tell, isn't it? Because the match is very good. So that's ceramic, and that's metal with enamel.
What's the bubbling here that's kind of...
It's the rust bubbling up and just
Right.
rejecting, there you go, that's fully going.
Yeah.
Just rejecting the enamel.
Right,
off
and
the
that's why it's
surface.
peeling.
Now I can think of at least one other place on the underground where you can see this, and it's near where we work. Which is St James's Park.
I wanted to say that, I did, it was on the tip of my
You'll see
tongue.
it's a bit more obvious there, but if we walk a little bit further down, you can see we get ceramic again, and then just here, you can see that ceramic, and then that, again,
It's metal.
is metal.
You've got a great eye for detail. Do you know what I'm loving at the moment? You'll be able to see this, Chris, is the difference of the green. If you look at this top one here,
Yeah.
how dark that is, even in the same tile, the colour is changing. And it gets so much lighter here, so it's that lovely iridescent colour that we always talk about.
And all of that stress crazing as well.
Yes.
You know, we talk about the original ones, they've got this deep vitreous surface. I don't know if we're catching it on camera, but they tend to craze, and it looks fab.
And look at the T section here as well of your keystone. That's going to get you excited,
Yeah.
isn't it, Chris?
And can I just point two other things out which make me very, very happy? So, in this whole situation, we have the roundel, and one of the members of staff said this is an original. It's not, is it? From about the 80s?
Yes, right.
Possibly the early
yeah.
90s, right? Okay, so this gives an idea of when this station got massively rebuilt because of the Jubilee line. But also up here, the original frieze. Look at this from about the 80s. When they put them all along there that said London Bridge. The station names have gone. They've probably gone off for, I don't know, to be scrapped. But some bits remain. So we've got the tiles, we've got the roundel, we've got bits of the frieze. I mean, who'd have thought this station would give so much behind one locked door?
It's incredible, isn't it? It's a short section, but there's so much in it. And there is actually one other bit that we've still to give you. It's a very rare find, and it's something which was featured recently on the TV show, The Secrets of the London Underground. We talked about floodgates. So, just through here, we can see all of these gears, and it's quite dark. Well, we should take a closer look, because this is the workings of the floodgate.
Get the key in the lock. Get the key in the lock.
Alex's little face, I love it.
Oh, it's amazing.
There we go.
Here we go. It's always a stiff door. Now look at the teeth on that. What is this the workings of? I suppose the river is the clue, isn't it?
It is. So this is a floodgate, and a lot of them have been removed on the tube. They're not really needed anymore, and so this one isn't functional. But you can see you've got these massive drive gears here, and behind it, this tons and tons and tons of sliding floodgate. Behind here is this tiny little gear called a pinion, which acts on this rack here to push the whole thing across that way, slide it into the mouth of the tunnel, and then it can be sealed so that water, if the Thames tunnel had flooded, couldn't get into the station and affect it. And
that is incredible.
If that had failed, they'd had a power failure. See this enormous handle here?
Yeah.
That's the hand crank.
So
to do it manually.
you can wind it on.
So you could wind it manually on. You can see it's got quite a massive reduction gear on it there to help you, because you can imagine that weighs so many tons.
Yeah.
It's a huge job to do it.
I'm just absolutely bowled over by this place.
It's so rare to find these and have access to them, because a lot of them have been removed and a lot of them are hidden away in places like this.
Yeah.
So good luck finding them.
Look at the teeth on that. This is unbelievable. There is something else around here that I would love you to just explain to me what it is. I think I know, but I'd like to know. This is a tiny door. I mean, bearing in mind I'm what, 5'8", 5'7", 5'8". It's smaller than me, but presumably this is a floodgate.
It is, and that's for a person to be able to get into the chamber for the other one, which acts into the northbound tunnel going that way.
Right.
So this one is for this southbound one here, and that one is to get into the chamber for the other one. Because they could be controlled locally, but you know where they may have been controlled from.
Well, either Leicester Square or North End. And there's something else that Laura found actually while we were looking. Laura's on the camera at the moment, and it's something up here. There's a number in the metal at the top there, 22. Now, can we assume this is Floodgate 22?
It's a reasonable assumption. So there on the panel, next to the switch at Leicester Square, on North End would be Floodgate number 22, and that's the southbound Northern Line.
So bomb goes off, water's coming into London Bridge Station, you can shut gate 22 and it would seal it.
Yeah, and in fact they would have already taken that action as soon as there was an air raid called and the sirens had gone off. They would check the last train had come out of the tunnel, and then they would close it down for the duration of the air raid, and until they'd checked that all of the bombs that had dropped in the river had either gone off or been checked by divers using those hydrophones that were based over at South Kensington.
Amazing. Amazing. What a place.
All right,
yeah. You see, one of the things that I really loved about all of that, Laura, and you love your coloured tiles, and we really were able to see what those tiles look like these days. I mean, the fact that all this stuff still stays there behind a locked door, we're so lucky to get to see this, aren't we?
We really are, and I think that particular site visit was really exploratory, wasn't it? It's kind of normally you've got an idea of where you're going and what you're going to see, but I think we all had quite a few wow moments, which was really lovely. Many door moments. Chris, who was showing us around, obviously kind of worked out what we were into and where we wanted to go, and he was such a great tour guide for us, wasn't he? He was kind of showing us some great spaces, as we've seen. And I think the tiles were lovely. I know I get very excited about the colour and that I love the green and the teal, but so well preserved in that little kind of archway, kind of semicircle. I'm not thinking of the right words, but you know what I mean. That lovely little corridor that we went through. I mean, it was super hot, so I was struggling with the heat. But the colour was just the shade and how it kind of drifts between the shades in one tile. I just will never get over that. I genuinely do really love it. And I'm a self-confessed tile geek, so I take that. But the colour there was beautiful, and I can still picture it really vividly now as well.
Well, you're wearing the green today.
Yeah, I am. I can't help it.
Amazing. It's amazing.
I like to match the tile.
And anyone who's probably in there, I would say probably 50s plus, would have a good recollection of what London Bridge used to look like yesteryear, because it was just like that. If you go to Kennington or Borough and you see those tiles on the wall, that is what London Bridge looked like before the big renovations for the arrival of the Jubilee line. And I think the fact that we went through that door and saw all those tiles still in place, even the round door was still there. I think we're so lucky, aren't we? Just so lucky to get hold of those keys.
I think there are a couple of things that I will particularly remember about this station. It's the first time on the Hangouts that we've covered these enamelled metal tiles. I know there are other ones, but it's the first time we've gone and explored them, and also to find the floodgate there as well is a couple of really unusual things in one space.
It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. So to recap, it started off as a station with a spiral staircase, which we went down, and a lift shaft. Okay. Then escalators came along. And then in the 90s, big changes were made to the way that the Northern Line looked. They actually moved the southbound running tunnel, the track tunnel, way to the side, which meant that the old running tunnel became a concourse, which is what we use now. It's the one that's at the bottom of the stairs where you can decide to go left or right, depending on whether you want to go north or south on the tube. And that curvy wall that you see on the northbound side was the original wall of the southbound platform. I hope that makes sense. This is where it gets really cool on this Hangout, because then Fran, who also works there, came in on his day off to meet us and say hi. Hello, Fran. And he decided that he would help us to film this, which meant all of us could go exploring together. And we decided to explore the really, really old bits of the station. So the City and South London Railway track tunnels, the running tunnels, then the old Northern Line running tunnels when all of the reworking was done and the platform was moved, and the lift shaft, the original lift shaft. And here's what we found. It is going to blow your mind. I hope it's making sense so far. It's just, there is so much here, and I hope that we're giving you a bit of a guided tour of it. This bit of the tube station is completely hidden off. There is no way in the world that any member of the public could go here, is there?
No, but if we take a look at the tunnel linings, you can see the magic letters C and SLR.
Hey Fran, come and get this. Fran is on, I'm sorry, Francesco is on the camera today. C and SL, City and South London. So this dates back to 1890. I should say, by the way, at the stage, his name is Francesco. I call him Fran because I know him. Don't call him Franny. Not allowed.
Okay.
Noted.
It's Fran.
Noted.
Mine is step.
Fran.
Now, behind this
Full
door,
step.
very helpfully entitled on it, Southbound Disused. So this is the other end. Now that we're at the other end of the public concourse in the modern station, this is the other end of the Southbound tunnel.
We're all looking really red-faced and dusty.
I thought we're going up.
Now the lights are on my car. We all look very, very tired.
Should we go?
Let's go through the door.
This is epic.
This is the door moment of today.
Come on through, Franny. It's Fran.
So,
wow.
And I think,
look at this.
I think this is where we need a little bit of torch action.
Look at this.
Chris asked me earlier if I had a torch. I said, I've got a torch.
Get in shot. Look at this. So this was the original southbound Northern Line running tunnel when it became the Northern Line. So after the City in South London,
That's right.
became the Northern Line. Just look at
So, hang on a minute, because it was built as City in South London,
Yeah.
but this is after the diversion was made in 1900.
Right.
So this is when the City in South London Railway came to London
Right.
Bridge for the first time, and this tunnel was here from that point on.
So this is the narrow bit.
No, this isn't the narrow bit.
Exactly. So
That's
this is
right.
the wider bit.
That's right.
So Stan, can we get across here? Can we do literally arms to arms? I don't know whether you
Oh,
can.
that's a good idea.
Can we do this?
Yeah.
I can just about reach the width. That's two arm spans. That is the width of this tunnel. Now this is small, isn't it?
Yeah. But we're going to go to an even smaller one that's only 10'6". So,
And this is sleepers, ballast. When
Yep.
everyone talks about ballast, by the way, it's stones, isn't it?
well, when you're above ground, you have what's known as ballast in railway terms.
Yep.
This is more of a drainage ballast, so it's not there to hold the sleepers still like the sharp, jagged stuff is. This is there for drainage, so you get a lot more rounded pebbles, like the ballast that you might buy at a DIY store.
Cool. And if you ever hear the phrase tamper, it's this, right?
That's right. You have rather than an Alex doing it, there'll be a train that comes along and does that mechanically.
And thumps it down to
That's
make
right.
it solid, yeah?
That's right.
But
Should
look
we,
at it.
should we head down?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So, aside from random
huge,
bits of
isn't it?
machinery, that's a chisel out of a pneumatic drill. And you're always taught when you're walking above ground to walk on the ballast because it's normally slippery on the sleepers.
The
But down
safest
here,
bit.
you're all right.
Yeah.
And then we get to track.
Now, I think there's probably another clue on the track that this is not the very earliest tube, because you can see that is a set of holes drilled for the pattern of a more modern
Electric.
insulator, porcelain insulator base, sort of circular in shape.
But just look at the size of the track. I mean, again, this is stuff that the public never get to see. You know, you never get to see a cross-section of track.
No.
And yet we can here.
Are either of you two still having some issues like wrapping your head around this little section alone? I know a lot of it today has been really exploratory, but this bit I'm struggling to, like, this is just behind a door from the main
I know.
passageways that people just, thousands of people pass every day. And through that door is this amazing space.
But also how they left parts of the old tunnel and track, just left it and went, we'll build another bit and we'll move it.
Well, that's it. I mean, why would you fill it in? It's going to cost you time, money and effort to do it. And I think London Bridge is one of those stations where there's almost as much disused stuff behind the scenes as there is in public usage, particularly for a bit that we'll go to shortly. But should we walk down the end?
You're itching to get us up
I
there,
am.
aren't you?
You always got to go to the end.
Come on, Fran. I just love this. I feel like a proper, worker wading through the ballast.
You know when you're walking on track, you're in a proper disused bit of area.
Careful, Fran. I'm being very protective of our cameraman today.
I think it's a very good, jolly good job as well.
Got Chris, we've got Fran. Everybody at London Bridge is lovely, aren't they? Amazing. And there's a lot of muck.
There is. Again, it would be work to take these rails out of there. So these are presumably all of the rails that would have originally gone through the centre of what's now the concourse in the station.
And you found that, didn't you, really?
Well, little treat. So this fella is a
Oh,
train.
hang on. Orientate me. Is this the Jubilee line?
No, Northern.
Oh,
So
terrible.
behind it, danger, moving trains, as ever, comedically shown as a steam train.
Just listen to that rumble, like how close we are.
Oh, I know, it's freaky.
So
It's freaky.
I
behind
still
there,
have no idea where we are, do I?
behind there, basically the modern day Southbound will tuck in and go back onto the original rails.
Epic.
But
Sorry.
this is really cool. This thing, by the way, is this the thing that goes at
Yeah.
the end of, on the platform
Look
somewhere?
how
on the tracks?
dusty it is.
That's right. It really is. It's quite kind of mingy, isn't it? But so this thing, when the associated signal is at danger, red, this pneumatically lifts up with that shdunk that you're describing, and stands in the way of a lever hanging down off the bottom of the train, known as a tripcock.
Tripcock.
Tripcock. Remember
Takes
that
me
from
back to
season
series
one? We
one.
talked about it.
Tripcock.
And if the train comes past it when this is up, that will knock the lever and that opens the valve on the emergency brakes and puts the brakes full on. And will stop the train very quickly. If you're standing up, you probably won't be for long.
The Tripcock block.
Yes.
So is it quite unusual that that's here?
Yeah, it is, but this will have been the one that was just outside the station.
Right.
And it's heavy. Dump it there. Don't have
Why
to take
it? Fair enough, fair enough.
But it's great. You don't get to see them up this close.
No.
But they are.
Incredible.
Grand. Right.
You want to go to a small bore, don't you?
We do. We should.
Okay.
We've done the more modern Northern Line. We should go back to a very short-lived.
Let's do it.
Original bit of Northern.
That's where I want to go
do it.
next.
Right,
Okay.
marvellous. This way. This way, please. Thank you. So, this, Mr. Nix, Ms. Laura, is the original lift shaft from the City and South London Railway to street level, isn't it?
It is. And over towards Laura.
I'm all immediately loving the cooler breeze that you can feel in here, which makes it a little bit more temperate for us.
And I think that's because, as we can see here, this is now ventilation point 72A.
There we go.
As chalked onto the wall there. But aside from the interesting tunnel full of permanent way equipment for maintenance of the tube that we're used to seeing, this tunnel is the one I think we're most interested in, isn't it?
Should we go down?
We should.
Okay, steady of the ramp, all right? It's a bit steep.
Let's go, team.
Wow, look at this. Okay.
Echo, didn't bring an additional hairband, guys.
Could I have one?
You need one as well, actually.
Hang
have
on,
one.
don't hog it. I need one.
This is crazy. Okay, look at this. So little steps on the way up here. It's a bit like a sewer with steps, isn't it?
Well, it's not the immediate vision I want to come up with.
And I'll just say I don't hang out in many, so I'm not sure. But you're right, it does look a bit like that photo we saw of the Fleet sewer. Do you remember? We saw, I think it was the Holborn episode.
Yeah.
But as we can see, it's 7 foot in diameter, and unusually it's done in concrete.
I love the fact that Fran, who works here, has never been to this part of the station. Fran's on camera again and has never been to this bit of the station, and we are taking him to this.
Now, straight away, you can see this is a different size to the one you're in. Do you want to repeat your
Yeah.
experiment?
Let's do it,
Laura,
let's do it, let's do it.
Take that and you can repeat
Oh, hang
your-
on, yep.
Easily.
It's much easier, isn't
Hold
it?
your hands.
Overlap your hands now in the middle, and you can see you've got a good
like I
kind
need
of foot of
stars.
overlap in the
Yeah,
middle there.
at least.
Which, there you go. You were in 12'6" before, you're in 10'6" now.
And this would have been what, Chris?
So, we are stood in one of the two original, very short-lived, City and South London Railway tunnels. And
Running tunnels, track tunnels.
running tunnels, yeah. So trains would have come down here. So between 1890 and 1900, this was the stretch between Borough. Yeah, let's just
Look.
there you go. This was the stretch between Borough and King William Street, and there wasn't a station here. It just carried on through and up to King William Street. But when it was remodelled, when the City and South London Railway was remodelled, the Northern Line as we know it today went via London Bridge. This became surplus.
Don't you just really love subtle stage lighting, Law?
I know.
really-
I particularly like your little twirl that you did before over here.
A plie.
Yeah.
So I think we should go for a little wander at least. shall we?
Absolutely.
Lead the way, because you've got the lights.
Right.
This is getting very scary.
Let's take one.
I mean, seriously, Mr. Nix, the places you take me.
Yeah,
This
there
is
aren't
a
many
tube
places
tunnel.
where you can go into original 10'6" here in South London Railway Tunnel.
So paint us a picture of the sort of trains that were running down these tracks. We're talking the little ones that are at London Transport Museum.
That's right. So you need to think about the one that's on our ground floor oh, there you go.
Love that rumble.
it's great,
Love
isn't
it.
it?
It will never ever cease to kind of give me the
Tingles.
goosebumps. That's the one.
Yeah.
So that City and South London loco, the little Matherin Platt, orangey yellow one that we have at the museum with its padded cell carriage, that would have come down this tunnel.
So we're sitting like face
That's
to
right, we're
face, aren't we?
sitting
So we're
like
sitting like
this.
in the
No
tunnel.
windows.
No.
And those brown seats, and it's deeply shocking because, of course, it's the first time all the classes have been mixed in together on public transport. And it's a profoundly new way of travelling in this deep tube.
Think of how many people and how many stories and journeys and the history that's just oozing out of this little museum of a tunnel.
That's phenomenal.
It's great. And, well, we should carry on a little bit down, because just through here, we can hop through and into the other tunnel.
Mind your
This is a cross passage.
That's quite cheeky, isn't
That's
it?
great, isn't it?
Are we going to go in there?
Yeah, of course we are. Just
Let's
up
do
a
it.
little bit as you come through. Mind the steps.
2 steps, guys.
And if we look this way, you can see that it's been blocked up. So it's concreted up, no longer goes that way. But that way, well, next stop, Borough. Should we walk?
Let's do it. Alex, they totally didn't hear you.
No, nobody hears your screams down here. Nobody hears your screams.
I don't know why I'm holding the light like this, as if...
It's quite sort of
it's
my
actually
party,
well
isn't
lit
it?
without the...
It's all right, isn't it?
It's not too bad.
It's-
I mean,
his big one.
We
That's
can
what
see
it
a
is.
very long way down with this
Oh.
one.
It's quite... There, it is eerie, I have to say.
I think what Chris was saying before, I thought he articulated it so lucidly.
Chris, the station boss.
Absolutely, yeah, sorry.
Not me, I'm never listening.
Yeah, no, not him. Gosh, he's terrible. No.
Nixie.
No, when he was trying to explain that your senses are heightened. So you're not necessarily, scared or thinking anything else is going on, but you just feel slightly kind of out of your comfort zone.
Can you tell I'm twitching?
I actually could, and
know
then that
she
was
did keep
making me
looking at
twitch a little bit as well.
It's incredible. And
Now-
then here, look, Mr. Nix, what have we got here?
Yeah, I've got to be a bit careful with the light here
Yeah.
because, as you can probably hear, that leads out towards a train tunnel, but it's actually this vent that's
many
probably a bit more
rumbles.
familiar. If I just carefully light it and keep it steady, you can see we've got this grill here. People who've been to Euston Station on our tours, or
Just about to say, is anyone else feeling a little bit of Euston here?
or of course when we went to Kennington,
Yeah.
and we saw the vents there, same deal. Basically down there, you've got the Northern Line.
It's coming.
And we're
Is
just
this coming? Come over, look. Look, Fran.
So you're up with that light.
So there we go. That's a vent, and this is a vent tunnel now. And so yeah, there's several of these down here. But of course, that isn't all these tunnels were used for. Do you
During
know
the
what
war?
else they were used for?
Wartime,
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Because when we were going down the City and South London spiral staircase, you said the blue and the cream on the walls was synonymous with wartime. So I'm figuring that big long tunnels like this could well have been kitted out with bunk beds and whatever to protect Londoners.
Yeah, as we've covered many times on the show before, wherever you've got a piece of ready-made tunnel deep below ground, and this is about 20 metres below ground, it's going to get used because it's far safer than being up on the surface.
Okay, so let me level with you.
Yeah.
We've done loads and loads about the Northern Line this time. I know from a previous job that I did that the Jubilee line, when it came to London and was extended, is a story in itself. So how about we come back again and do the Jubilee line story at London Bridge as a separate episode?
I'd love to. My first job at the museum 22 years ago was guiding and doing tours at this station and the others on the Jubilee line extension, so I'd love to come back and share it.
And another area of my professional career, we were chucking the cash at the Jubilee line to make it get built. So it would be quite nice to see how my money was spent.
Happy to do that.
Let's do that then. I mean, Chris, where do we even start with explaining all of that? It's all still there, and this is the crazy thing, isn't it?
It really is incredible. I've never been in those tunnels north of Borough before, the original City and South London ones. I've only ever stood in an original City and South London tunnel once before, and that was at King William Street. So to be able to go and do the other side of that yesterday was just brilliant.
What did you think of it, Law? Because I mean, this is somewhere that was just knee deep in dirt for a start.
It was very dusty indeed. And I think what's always really special on these site visits is because of Chris's role and how long he's been with the museum, he's spent a lot of time in a lot of these stations that, you or I, or maybe even Siddy kind of hasn't been to either. So when Chris was getting excited in the supervisor's office before we even went in, I kind of little alarm bells were going, hang on a minute, Chris hasn't even been in these spaces either. So this is going to be good. But it was even better than that, wasn't it? I mean, we all thought this is going to be good, but it was particularly special. And it's, you know, I keep saying this, but it's a station I use a lot. So I feel even more attached to it because I have that affiliation of, you know, going through those gate lines and using the escalators and using the platforms. And now, I mean, guys, you had to help me out a little bit yesterday, right? Because my orientation was a little squiffy. It was kind of off. And I think I'm getting there. I do. So if there's any of the viewers out there that are struggling, I'm with you.
Can I help you with that? Because I think I've come up with a way of doing this. Right. So if you imagine... Chris can go with me on this one. This is a very, very complicated journey. I'm trying to get inside your head, Law, because I love the fact that you're in the journey with us all. All of our viewers were the same as you. Whereabouts are we? So imagine that in London Bridge Station, the Northern Line runs north to south, and crudely speaking, the Jubilee Line runs east to west, okay? We were concentrating on that north to south bit. And because of the changes that happened in the Northern Line in the 90s, where they moved the southbound platform to the side, all of that tunnel work, all of the, the old running tunnels and all the lift shafts are in that bit in the middle between what is now the north and the southbound tracks. All right, so it's that chunk of space in London, in London Underground Station. That's where all the action that you've seen today was happening, okay? It's really, really hard to get your head around, but that is where it all is. And what you've seen today is all still there. It fascinates us. There is another episode in the Jubilee Line. And I think, Chris, both you and I would love to do that episode because of our own experiences of the Jubilee Line.
Absolutely, a lot to share there. It's a really complex station, London Bridge, but it's quite a handsome one in some ways. So
gorgeous,
yeah, worth a visit back.
Absolutely gorgeous, and we will go over that again in the second episode. But so far, you've seen what happened to the Northern Line from 1900 to the present day. That is what we've got, and just fascinating footage. I really hope you enjoyed that. As always, thank you so much to Fran and to Chris and all the other staff at London Bridge who are just so lovely to us and have already said, come back and do more stuff with us. So we cannot wait to come back. Thank you. And it was so lovely to go touring with you two as well. And then go for a glass of wine afterwards. So lovely. What a lovely day. Notes, queries and questions, because we're trying to make sure that we get Chris to a meeting today. It's very, very important. There is one question come in, Chris, from Julian. He says, just watching Siddy's programme on the telly. We're loving your show, by the way, Sid. And they mentioned the posters at Euston grabbed new visitors to London. That generated a question for notes, queries and questions for me. Does LT charge a premium for some poster locations at different stations?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, there are different prices for different poster circuits, and even now for, of course, different methods of displaying those adverts. So we have, for example, digital panels now all over the system, large format ones on the escalators. They've all got different prices, and we know because we've used them to advertise Hidden London tours, that they certain sites like Piccadilly Circus, for example, that have so many hundreds of thousands of people using it will attract a premium, and even different times of the day with the digital ones will have different premiums. So yes, is the short answer. There are different prices.
Did you notice, by the way, in the Northern Line concourse that we were looking at today, did you notice the London Transport Museum poster on the side? I thought we were so on message that day.
And I keep seeing Siddy on the underground posters as well.
She keeps being tagged in Instagram pics, doesn't she? Yeah, she keeps being tagged in Instagram pics. Yes, Siddy. It's great on a train. Loads of lovely comments about the Swanage episode where we went on the steam train day. Oh my goodness, the numbers shot through the ceiling. Looking forward to seeing you all again, says Mr. Goggins' Garage. Dave Sticks is a fabulous episode again. Kevin Reed says the same. Dino, Series 4, woohoo. I think you should now start the beginning of every show like Dallas with split screens of the four of you. That'd be quite good for an intro, wouldn't it, Chris?
I like that idea.
I have done that sometimes on our little Instagram teasers. I've done the 4 screen, so maybe he's taken that one in.
I'm just not going to be Bobby Ewing because I might never come out of the shower. Then Susan Large says, thanks so much for this. Hidden London Hangouts, just brilliant. You lazy git says, how do I get to see City's TV programme as I live in New Zealand? I think, is catch-up available around the world, or is that geo-blocked?
Not sure. I'm sure it will travel soon.
It will. Or come over. come over and see us. Be really nice. Sit in a hotel room and watch it here. Be great if you can travel. Thank you so much for that. I hope that made sense of part of London Bridge Station for you. We certainly enjoyed touring on your behalf. Laura, thank you so much for being my tunnel grubbing chum.
It was so much fun, wasn't it? And I love the themes, so many big themes of abandonment and kind of refurbishment and regeneration and enlargement. And I'm really excited about the second part of this because it was too much to squeeze into this one. But I'm still kind of digesting what we've just done as well. So it's going to take me a while to process, but it was a really, really awesome site visit. Long, but awesome.
It really was. And we have truncated that coverage really, really heavily for you today. It was about 4 hours of walking around in the dirt. And thank you, as I say, thank you so much to Chris and to Fran. Chris Nix, you're a star.
Thank you. It was a genuinely enjoyable visit yesterday, and I'm so glad we can share it this way because it's one of those sites that, because it's so fragmented, a lot of the access into these spaces is ladders or almost crawl spaces and things like that. So it's not one that we're ever going to be able to bring as a physical tour to the Hidden London programme. So it's great to be able to share it anyway in this way on the Hangouts.
Glorious, isn't it? And next time you're at London Bridge Station, you go down to the Northern Line and you're standing in that middle corridor, that concourse bit. Just imagine that once upon a time you'd have been almost stood on the tracks if you were standing there. That's how much London Underground has moved and changed, and certainly at that tube station. In a very similar way to it's happening at Bank. They're moving the line again at Bank to give you that massive great concourse. Absolutely fascinating stuff. If you want to find us, Instagram, Alex Grundon, Chris Nix, City Holloway, Hidden London Law, and at LT Museum. You found us on YouTube because the numbers are going up. We'd like you to comment down below, like, subscribe, comment, and ask us any questions you like. Suggest places that we can go. If you've got an idea, we'd love to hear from you. We're off to somewhere amazing next week. In the meantime, have yourself a great day and stay safe.